I'm just looking up. She was Swedish, wasn't she? She had to have been.
No, not Ingrid Bergman, Ingmar Bergman.
Oh, is he fucking?
Also Swedish, yes.
Oh, okay, thank goodness. Thank goodness, Gene.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? If you've ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I'm one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Yeehaw!
And each week, we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, we'll cover one to choose one for yourself. Please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. That's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all that information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Gene, this week, I'm as happy as a puppy with two Peters because we're doing a wonderful Western, a Billy Crystal film, a comedy from the 90s. What more could you ask for in these trying times we're living through, Jane? So one of our great listeners, Ken L., called in with a very special commission for a very special person. And he said, would we reckon that we could review the classic 1991 American Western comedy, City Slickers? And Ken was kind enough to call in and leave us a message on our voicemail about why this movie was so important to him and his kin. So let's let Ken tell us why. Take it away, Ken.
Hey, what's going on, Shat crew? DJ Ken from Santa Rosa here, calling in advance of my commission of 1991's City Slickers. I discovered your podcast around, 2021 or 22, and I've been listening to all of the new pods as they drop ever since and absorbing the back catalog, and I just love what you guys do and have been excited to commission a movie. A while back, I was on a road trip with my wife, Eileen, and I suggested we listen to some Shat The Movies pods. She chose to listen to Clue and then Clueless, which I thought was pretty funny at the time. And I just enjoyed listening together with her. And it sparked the idea to commission a movie as a gift for her birthday last year. And I knew I found the right choice when I discovered that you guys had still not reviewed City Slickers. So I pulled the trigger and surprised Eileen at her birthday last year with the commission, and have been waiting patiently ever since. So City Slickers is one of those movies that she and I both love equally, which is saying something, as she leans towards rom-coms. I'm a big fan of dramas and thrillers and Tarantino movies and things like that. But there are some films that speak to both of us, and most of them are from our 80s youth, right? But there's something about City Slickers that never gets old, at least for me. The cast of Billy Crystal and Bruno Kirby and Daniel Stern, and of course, Jack Palance, fantastic. The comedy lands, the story is great, and the script is loaded with some great lines. Around our house, if we want to say, hold my beer, we pretty much just say, scoop of chocolate, scoop of vanilla, don't waste my time. As we get older, the more dramatic elements of this movie stick with me more, and I'm thinking this movie is going to hold up on repeat rewatch here for you guys. At least I hope it does. For me, it's 1.5 wipes, but I think it'll score positively on the Shat meter. Cross my fingers. So even though this won't air anywhere near her December birthday, I'd like to wish a big happy birthday to my wife, Eileen, again, 7 months late or 5 months early. And I'm hoping that listening to this together with the family will be a nice little experience for us both. I hope you guys enjoy the movie as much as we do, and keep doing what you're doing. Thanks.
It's a perfect birthday gift.
Eileen, there is a reason that Christmas in July exists. If you got a December birthday, there's nothing better than a June gift. It's that one that sits out on its own. It's single. It's solitary. It's so sweet. And Ken, what a thoughtful way to celebrate. It's so weird to me, Big D, thinking that there is a couple that lives in Santa Rosa, my definition of heaven on earth, Santa Rosa, and they listen to us, a guy in Orlando and a guy in Tempe, Arizona. And Eileen must be a very special type of lady because it seems to be a very dude-oriented movie. It's a guy's getaway. It's a guy's road trip movie. It's cowboys and talking about baseball. But surprisingly, Eileen likes it. Sarah loved it, perhaps more than I did. So maybe there is a special quality that transcends the dudosphere and makes it universally loved.
See, but he did say that Eileen likes rom-coms. So there are a few on-ramps to this film. You've got Billy Crystal. You've got Harry Met Sally. Those are easy on-ramps onto this film. There are romantic components, something for the ladies.
Let's talk about the three big character arcs in this movie, Big D. You got one guy who says he feels trapped in his relationship, jumps into a river after a calf, and that reminds him that he loves his family. You got another guy that cheats on his wife with a 20-year-old and then has an inexplicable connection to the only lady that's along with them on the cattle drive. And then you've got a third guy who is a womanizer, and his big epiphany is he wants to go home and get his wife knocked up because he doesn't want to fuck other people anymore.
No.
Yeah, it's a real movie for the ladies.
No, Gene, you're missing it. This film is about communication. All three of those relationships, they have communication hurdles. And in the end, all of them grow as a couple, grow as individuals. What lady doesn't want their man to grow emotionally?
Sarah, probably.
Yeah, I think Eileen does. And I bet you Ken is a very developed and emotionally mature man.
Relating this movie to the current zeitgeist of the 2025, I've been thinking a lot about the Americana fetish that's been sweeping the country for a bit now. A few years ago, Big D, you know me, I would go to country bars, Denim and Diamonds, or hit any of the honky tonks on Broadway in Nashville. And friends of mine, family members, they thought I was being eccentric, right? They're like, why are you going to country bars? Now, everybody from Post Malone to Beyonce is hopping on this country/Americana bandwagon. Cowboy cosplay is everywhere. Even my own cousin, a Kurdish immigrant, showed up to his wife's baby shower in a Western shirt and boots.
Again, this might not be popular, but this is the thought I have. If I wanted to break into music, I would go one of two routes. The easiest path to success, country or Christian rock.
Yep.
Those two have a built-in fan base. The songs are very formulaic. You can easily mention your truck, your girlfriend, your dog, drinking beer. Any of that stuff works. And you're right, today, look at Lil Nas X.
Is that today? That was like a decade ago.
No, it was not a decade ago. It was maybe like a year or two ago, right? He's still around. That helped him break out.
Old Town Road.
It's not 10 years old, Gene. You better take that shit back.
Old Town Road came out in 2018. 7 years old.
Okay. So let's go somewhere in the middle. We're close. You know,
Just yesterday.
But for me, I was excited for this commission because of Billy Crystal. As a New Yorker and as a devout Yankee fan, I know Billy Crystal loves the Yankees. And I've always seen the poster. You've got Billy Crystal with the cowboy hat with the NY, not the Yankees, but the Mets. So I haven't seen this in years. So I was excited. I'm like, let's go back. I want to try to figure out why the hell is Billy Crystal in a Mets jersey in a movie. The man made a movie about the Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle battle for 61 to beat Babe. So I thought it was going to be fun because it's been years since I've seen this. And as a kid, you're going to interpret this film and you're going to absorb it very differently. I thought this was fish out of water. This is going to be the city slickers. They're going to be out in the West. It's going to be rugged terrain. There's going to be horses. I did not expect the 50-year-old Dick Ebert watching an introspective look into a man's transition into midlife and how he deals with the fact that life might not be what you expected, or the time you start to feel your mortality and realize that maybe your best isn't good enough. I wanted fucking cowboys. I wanted fucking some wrestling. I want some like lasso throwing. Instead, I got something very different, but it turned out to be a perfect film for a perfect time. And Ken L., great movie. Great movie to choose.
City Slickers is a 1991 Western directed by Ron Underwood and starring Billy Crystal, Daniel Stern, Bruno Kirby, and Jack Palance, who won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Jake Gyllenhaal makes his feature film debut. A sequel titled The Legend of Curly's Gold was released in 1994 with the same cast, with the exception of Kirby, who was replaced by John Lovitz in a different role. Let's hit the trailer.
You ever reach a point in your life where you say to yourself, this is the best I'm ever going to look, the best I'm ever going to feel, the best I'm ever going to do, and it ain't that great?
Happy birthday.
For Mitch Robbins, turning 39 wasn't the end of the world. It just felt like it.
I'm losing hair where I want hair, and I'm getting hair where there shouldn't be hair. I found 4 big fat ones on my back. I'm starting to look like the Fly.
He couldn't put his finger on what was missing.
Show him the brochure. It's fantastic.
But his friends could.
2 weeks, the 3 of us. Driving cattle.
What, like in a truck?
No, it's a real old-fashioned cattle drive.
Go away with Ed. Take Phil. Go and find your smile.
Welcome to the Stone Ranch. Believe it or not, that work you saw a while ago, y'all are going to be doing that the next 2 weeks.
My answer is just watching this.
What do you think?
I think you look like one of the village people.
I'll pay for that shirt, too.
That is the toughest man I've ever seen in my life. Did you see how leathery he was? He was like a saddlebag with eyes.
Over now!
Hi, Curly. Kill anyone today?
They ain't over yet. Arnold, I'm losing you. We're going behind a butte. And Arnold?
I got a special treat. We're gonna make fresh coffee. Wow, something's spooking the cattle.
Stampede! City folk. This cow's having a baby. Reach in and pull out the calf.
You know, this was not in the brochure.
This summer,
Yeehaw!
Billy Crystal,
Look what I did. I made a cow.
Daniel Stern,
I lost my wife, I lost my job, and I've got some sort of rash from making in the bushes.
and Bruno Kirby
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Oh, God.
hit the trail.
You know what the secret of life is?
No, what?
This.
Your finger?
Just one thing.
What's the one thing?
That's what you gotta figure out.
Let's just leave the herd and get the hell out of here, huh?
A cowboy doesn't leave his herd.
You are a sporting goods salesman!
Not today.
Sometimes you have to get your feet wet
God, I don't like this!
to sit a little taller in the saddle.
I'm 39, I'm saying moo cow in a river! Do you believe this?
Came out here, City Slickers. You're gonna go home, cowboys.
City Slickers.
I'm on vacation!
Returning from the running of the bulls in Spain, middle-aged friends Mitch, Ed, and Phil debate the value of their yearly road trips. Mitch realizes he and his friends use adventure trips as escapism from their boring lives. Phil is trapped in a loveless marriage while managing his father-in-law's supermarket, and Ed is a successful and outgoing sporting goods salesman who recently married a young underwear model.
So, Gene, the movie opens, and we meet Mitch, Phil, Ed. They're in Spain. They're doing the running of the bulls. And we get the idea that these are 3 friends. They're out seeking adventure. However, my personal feelings on this, I know it's a movie and we're going to review it, but the running of the bulls to me, and I think I don't know if I've heard anybody else say how much, I think it's gross. I want to take adventures, Gene. You take adventures, but I don't want any here that come at the expense of some animals. It's supposed to be dangerous. It's supposed to be exciting. But this is people like tormenting animals. Why is this fun, Gene? You know, it's for a photo op. You're going to get a picture. You're out there running. I don't know. I don't think that this is something I would want to do. And am I cruel for thinking I want to watch people gored? Mitch gets a horn up the ass, and I'm like, yes. I love those videos that show up on my feed of animals hurting people when people are fucking with those animals. Now, is it wrong for me, Gene, to appreciate people getting hurt when they torment animals? And number two, do you think this is an okay adventure for people to take?
I mean, I think it's your reaction to the hubris of human beings, right? Like, we think that because we are at the top of the pecking order, or that we have a society that puts us above other animals, that we're like king shit when we're not. And it's nice to see people get reminded of that. I don't disagree with you there. And when I was younger, I certainly read a lot of Hemingway and thought that bullfighting and the running of the bulls was very, very cool. But as an adult, absolutely not. I am not into bullfighting. I'm not into the running of the bulls. And this goes along with the theme for this movie, I think. Lots of surprises hidden in City Slickers. It was an interestingly deep way to start the movie. Yes, there's the gags there, right? Billy Crystal is getting stitches in his ass and he's insulting the Spanish doctor. And of course, the Spanish doctor, who is a doctor, is just a dope who's standing there agape because he's a brown person. But a movie focused on cowboys herding cattle to capture a disappearing American spirit happens to open with the Spanish tradition of moving bulls from the countryside into the city. I feel like there's a symbolism there. They're trying to show us that there's a change in these men from going from one activity to another, sort of mirrors of the activities on other sides of the Atlantic. All of this is done in an effort to prove themselves, right? The first time it's to sort of do it in a way of bravado. The second way is much more in a caring and responsible way. And it got me thinking, this is a topic that's been kind of going around, right? It's like, how do we prove ourselves? How do we show that, in a softer age when we're not warriors out there? Like, how are we proving that we are truly men? How do you feel alive? Personally, I'm not a competitive person. I like to play video games where we're all getting along. I like to do team activities. I don't try to race people on my motorcycle. I'm cool with just having a good time with my friends and other people, even strangers. But sometimes you have to prove yourself. And I wondered when I did Jiu-Jitsu World League, it was me against 3 other dudes, not at the same time, obviously. I'm going 100%. They're going 100%. Who's going to win? Is this something that comes up for you? When's the last time you had to prove yourself?
Jesus, you got me thinking now. I think because at 50, right, you compare yourself and you test yourself to people in your age, right? I think I could still handle myself pretty well. But one of the times where I felt like I was going to test myself was I went out to Arizona and we were going to do, I thought it was Rocky Horror Picture Show. Mm-hmm. I showed up a little early and you were like, hey, by the way, if you get here early, maybe you could do some Krav Maga, some jiu-jitsu. And I was like, fuck. It was dangerous, Gene, because I could show up to your facility and I could embarrass myself. That would fuck up our relationship. There would have been videos. Sarah would have looked at me. I could have, Gene. You're making a face like you would. It was a test to me. I said, if I show up there and I don't represent and you throw me around like a rag doll, that could have devastated my psyche.
That's one of the funniest takes because we get this all the time at the gym when people come in and they're new students and there'll be guys, we're doing like a simple thing. It's like, okay, we're doing shoulder tag. Shoulder tag, all it is you're trying to touch my shoulder. I'm trying to touch your shoulder. It's a footwork drill, right? Can you move forward? Can you move back? Blah, blah. If you're the new guy, if it's your first class, I expect you to be dog shit at it. That's why you're in class. You're in class to learn how to do the thing. If you were great at it, I'd be like, get out of here. You're too good. But I get it, right? I get that you don't want to look like a dipshit. You think that people might judge you. But I think all too often in American life, let's say, people probably aren't tested enough. You see all the people who are online, they're talking mad shit, right? Like, and I'm not saying it from a violence perspective. I'm talking in general. People who say, oh, I could beat any of these women in the NBA, WNBA, or I could beat this, UFC fighter. And you look at the guy and you're like, when's the last time you had to sprint 100 yards? When's the last time you had to swim? When's the last time you had to do, anything? When's the last time you got on the ground and then got back up? And again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody who can't do that stuff or saying that I'm better than them because I can, but rather it's just people have high self-opinions, but rarely have to prove themselves.
You just have to question, when is the last time that most people have been uncomfortable?
Yeah.
When have they been in a situation where they couldn't easily tap out or been in an uncomfortable environment or something that most people wouldn't do? And I think that's something we should do more. You have to, and you got to keep pushing yourself. And that's one of the things, Gene, about you. I will pat you on the back. You do more things than most people I know, and you are more adventurous and you're more brave with a lot of shit that I wouldn't do. And it ties into the movie perfect because you got Mitch's wife. She sees what these guys are doing, that these guys are trying to like up the ante. They're trying to push themselves. They're trying to do things. But she takes it in a negative way. She says, all these trips are just a sad attempt to stay young. And that kind of stung for me as like a 50-year-old guy trying to stay young. But I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's a good assessment because it's important. You have to keep doing the things that you want to do when you get married, especially because a lot of people get siloed. They get married and then their relationship only becomes their spouse. And the friends slowly fall off and it becomes something different. It's the first time in your life. You spent most of your life building up this friend group and then it disappears. So I want to ask you, Gene, you do the Chop Top Challenge. You're always involved. Your calendar looks like the soccer mom with 8 kids. You've got the U.S. men's national team. You've got Phoenix Rising. You've got the Hash House Harriers, the Ride for Men's Health. You've got mopeds, shooting in the desert, taking care of your son, King B. These are all the things that are great outlets. And finding time to do all this stuff, it keeps you sane. But do you think there's a point here where you could see yourself dialing down? Or do you think it's always important for people to have, like she said, do these things that keep you young and keep you happy?
Definitely dialing down. Look at me right now. Mustache.
Oh, handsome.
Thank you. Ball cap. I used to go to goth clubs in full PVC. I used to go to college parties. I'm not going to do that now. That's not my scene. I'm not going to have a good time. I don't want to buy a boat and like hit Lake Havasu and get a bunch of bikini babes on my boat. Like that is not my jam. But am I still playful? Yes. That is, if there's one word to describe me, it is play. I love play. I love games. I love celebrations. I love idiocy. But I also increasingly find myself naturally drawn to quiet, to order, and to family. Sarah, this weekend we're going camping. Deep in like my soul, could we just stay home? Now, I love camping, don't get me wrong, but we just went to Venice Beach last weekend for advanced test prep for Krav Maga with the Krav Alliance. And in July, we'll be going to Michigan. And it's just like, what'd be nice is like, just get some stuff in order. Maybe read a book, something like that. Get the nursery together, work on the bikes a little bit. What you've told me and what countless other parents have told me is that the way to connect to your youth is through your kid. Like that's what keeps you young, right? I mean, it's a proven fact. I think we've mentioned on the podcast before that girl dads live longer, right? Because they're connecting with that kid. That's where the youth comes from. You go to their activities, you see the world through their eyes and you support them. I didn't really see that with Mitch. He didn't really connect with his kids at all.
It's a good point. It wasn't even as if that was an afterthought. I don't even think I actually contemplated the children. Mitch was a needy bitch who only complained, and the wife was awesome that she put up with him.
Yeah, the daughter, she's like, I'm going to go down the hall and sleep over. And he's like, don't you want to be at my birthday party? Did you see his birthday party? Would you want to be at it as a kid?
No, that was pathetic. And he's so needy. Being needy is the least attractive trait anyone can have.
Last week, we alluded to the fact that these guys are probably younger than we are. And yeah, turns out they are. Mitch is 39 years old. Even though he's only 39, I had a feeling that this movie would trigger some midlife vibes in you and me. And there's this line, and there's lots of them in City Slickers, just lines that hit you. And he says, at this age, you are where you are. And that sounds like an existential prison. This notion that there are going to be no more voluntary big life changes for you, right? Nothing is coming down the line. You're a dad, you work a marketing job, you do a podcast, and you have a wife, and this is pretty much going to be it. And Big D, I've always been a believer that you work to live, you don't live to work. Do the job to get the paycheck and have as much free time as possible with the least demanding job possible, with the most money possible, so I can do other things that I really enjoy. I don't do the just find what you love in life and do that, and you'll never work a day in your life. It's bullshit. But lately, I have been Googling how long it takes to become a doctor or an immigration lawyer. And I realized I don't have that much time. I would be in my, late 50s before I could get a job. And then I'm going to be $500,000 in debt, right? I can't join the National Guard anymore. I can't join the military. There's a reality. We are too old. And I'm looking into how much money I can make as a full-time podcaster. Could I open a clinic with Sarah and be her front office? It just occurred to me watching this movie. I don't think I could do corporate for another 20 years. I think I will lose my mind.
No, but I don't think there's a lot more you could do. I watched a thing on air traffic controllers, right? You can't be older than 31 to attend the air traffic controller school.
Fuck.
I was like, fuck, I'm way past that. Yes, but Gene, it should feel liberating. You shouldn't feel trapped and feeling like, I think of my life a lot of times as like the battery indicator on an iPhone.
Oh, no.
Yes, I'm no longer in the green. I'm somewhere in the middle. I should find a charger, but that doesn't affect me in a negative way. Because right now, as I get older, I don't think about money. So I have a friend who works for Disney, and he works for the cruise lines, not on the cruise lines. He works in the actual operations end of the back end, doing the dry dock refurbishments of the ships.
He sells the airtime for the ads on the radio station.
He does. So what he's selling is no, he works for Disney Dry Dock. So when they're going to bring in the ships, he project manages the retrofitting of the entire ships. I mean, they have like a $42 million budget. They work with a couple hundred contractors. They don't do the work, but they actually manage the project, which is redoing these ships. He's been trying to get me in there for a while. And I started thinking, I was like, shit, the money is good, but do I want to trade? Because at this point, when you hit 50 and you are now maybe 60% into your life, 55%, depends on how well you take care of yourself. What's more important, money or time? I start thinking now, a higher paying job that takes me away from home 5 months, 3 months, a couple weeks, it's not worth it. I will always take a lower paying job that allows me home to be with my family. Because in the end, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, someone said, whatever money you make in the next 20 years, at the end of that 20 years, you would give every penny you had to back up 20 years and to be where you are today.
And that's why we're not the city slickers, guys. Big D, because I think you and I are on the same page on this. I need so little right now to be happy. So little. Just being able to enjoy the things I already have, the people I already have around me, that's good enough for me. I really don't need anything else.
Gee, my life is pathetic. Do you want to know what I'm looking forward to tomorrow? It's to get up at 6 a.m. as the sun comes up and climb up on my ladder and clean my solar panels.
Yeah.
Dude, I got a fucking 40-foot extension, a beautiful like soap cannon. This will be the highlight of my day.
Last week, we were putting up poles in the front yard to put up a new shade structure. And Sarah dug a hole, put the pole in, and then we buried it. There was a second piece of the pole that fits over the first piece to extend it another 6 feet. And I climbed up on a ladder, but before I went up there, I sprayed the inside of the pole, there are two metal fittings, with some lubricant. And then I put it on there, climbed up on the ladder, and I tapped it like with a mallet, and it just slid right on there. Just perfect. And I thought, you smart son of a bitch. What a day. What a day.
What a day.
Yeah.
Or you talk about like people who want fancy cars and handbags and like a lot of luxury items. For me to have $60, I went to Home Depot, bought the wood, the hardware to build Emma a 4x4 volleyball rebounder, a fold out training aid for her. I said, fuck, life is good. I can go build her this thing. I can watch her at volleyball. What more do I need?
Certainly not a trip to New Mexico.
No, Mitch has got issues.
At Mitch's 39th birthday party, Phil and Ed surprised Mitch with a group trip, a 2-week cattle drive from New Mexico to Colorado. Phil's 20-year-old employee, Nancy, unexpectedly arrives at the party and announces she tested positive in a pregnancy test, causing Phil's wife, Eileen, to walk out after a fight. Mitch's wife, Barbara, insists that Mitch go on the cattle drive to find his smile again.
So, Gene, this commission is a birthday gift from Ken to Eileen. In the film, we get the birthday party. You said Mitch's party, it's the saddest to begin with. It's as sad to me as Ghostbusters when you had the Keymaster, the neighbor down the street, who's like, hey, do you want to come on down? We're having a party. We're going to have some hors d'oeuvres. It was kind of sad group. But we meet Mitch in the morning. It's 5:30. His mother calls him. He hangs up, and his wife leans over to him, and she says, happy birthday. And there's like kind of a look of acknowledgement, and you think maybe there's going to be like a little morning, romance or something. Nothing. She rolls over, goes to sleep. Mitch looks disappointed. If you're a guy turning 39, and you've got a loving wife in bed with you next to you, fairly successful selling ads, you have a nice house with Manhattan skyline in the background, what more could you be hoping for in life, Gene? It's not cleaning your solar panels. Mitch wants a morning blowjob. Let's not pretend this is the universal men's birthday gift. Ladies, don't buy socks. Don't buy a scarf. Don't buy a golf set. Mitch wants a blowjob. And I hope, I don't want to overstep my bounds here, but I hope that Ken, in December, in the morning, maybe will roll over and give Eileen what everyone wants is oral sex on their birthday.
We should all be giving each other head every morning, Big D.
What's it cost?
It costs you nothing. Yeah, it costs you nothing. All of us have been in a relationship, I hope, where you had a person who was really into this. It was just every morning. Just that's how you started the day. And there's no reason we can't do that. It's been proven. It can be done. I blame smartphones. Because what does everybody do now? You wake up, you grab your phone. When you're going to bed, you're looking at your phone. I'm guilty of it too. It's very enjoyable. I like to doom scroll on Twitter. That's my jam.
Right. Instead of rolling over to look for your phone, you would accidentally find your partner's genitalia. It would just happen.
Yeah.
But the other part of this section of the film that's important, which also kind of struck a nerve with me as a 50-year-old man hitting the yellow section of my Life power bar on my iPhone, is Mitch goes to his son's like career day. And I don't even know if they do this. His son, young Jake Gyllenhaal, is 9. So that's Emma's age. I have not been called yet to talk about my career. And Mitch, again, you're making me realize, Gene, he is kind of whiny. He's needy. He's having trouble dealing. He goes to his kid's school. You had some meathead contractor talk about lifting a crane off of somebody. How hard would it be to step up and be like, hey, you guys listen to the radio? I sell those advertisements. Yep. You like that song? Yeah, I put that on there. You could make it cool, but instead, he lets this trigger a midlife crisis monologue to children. He tells them, hey, kids, your life peaks at 20. Then you spiral into disappointment. You have surgery, saggy skin. The fun is over. It's bleak. Why? The one thing that triggered me was you said in your 50s, you have your first minor surgery and then 60s, major surgery. I did have a minor one at 50s and all that, but that's bullshit. 40s and 50s are liberating. These are the greatest time, as long as maybe I'm spoiled because I have, a young daughter. I have a wife who's awesome. But 50s for me, I feel no pressure. I'm free. I don't have to conform. I work hard. I don't worry about anything. I have financial freedom, but I don't have to care. There's like the social norms. I tell Emma, one day you'll realize what other people think of you doesn't matter. And the fact that they don't think of you as much as you do what you want, feel free, just enjoy life. And I think that starts late 30s, 40s, and 50s. These are the best time.
I think we're living in very different times from when this film was made, though, because the median age of new moms is up 4 years from, let's say, the late 80s, right? So our 30s are their 20s and our 40s are their 30s. So when you look at it from that paradigm, it checks out. But like you, that health part of the monologue, it sent chills up my spine. I have yet to have a procedure, knock on wood, but they're regular things for my mom. My mom's in her 70s. I don't know how she's not terrified. She's so nonchalant about it, right? Oh, I got to go get this operation done, that operation done, my eye, my wrist, my pancreas, whatever. I would be terrified. And I think about that regularly. How do they go through day-to-day life in your 70s and not think each day is potentially your last.
See, but I think here is something we don't take into account enough, is when you hit a certain age, like 70s, right? You're doing less. So you have less to talk about. So what you talk about it might be a normal procedure. Yeah. It might be, hey, I'm going to the doctor. And the doctor might have been like, hey, you know what? It's time. Let's check your cholesterol. But she has nothing else to say. She'll be like, oh, Gene, doctor says my cholesterol. I need to go in and do some tests. What else do you talk about? So you have a limited subject matter to talk about with her son. So it might not be scary because it's actually nothing.
Yeah, she also finds everything that I do either dangerous or patently nonsensical. So that kind of makes sense too.
Yeah.
We do have a friend of the family, though, who just passed away, unfortunately, last weekend. This is the kind of thing that freaks me out. So she had surgery on her spine and it got infected and she went into cardiac arrest. Like, went home, was recovering, didn't feel great, went back to the hospital, heart attack. It's sobering for sure.
Yeah, but you just got to count yourself lucky.
Yeah. And ride a motorcycle every day.
No, it's like Squid Games. Each event, you count yourself lucky. Yep, you're losing people along the way, but just keep your head down, Gene. You'll be fine.
I haven't seen Squid Games.
You survived it. You just keep.
Do I need to watch it?
The first one's interesting. Yeah, I've not got my way all the way through. It's basically a life and death challenge of, like, say there was like 1,000 people. I forget how many. And the ultimate winner gets a lot of money.
Yeah.
So each event ends up with people dying.
Oh.
So each step of the games, you're seeing people die and get lost. And that's the way your life is. You see people you grew up with, celebrities, friends, family members. You just got to keep your head down. And Emma asked me the other day, she said something like about being afraid of dying. And I said, I'm not afraid of dying because it's inevitable. If there was like a way you could live forever.
Yeah.
But if you accidentally died, something accident happened and then your immortality was gone, then I'd be like, shit, I'm afraid to have that happen. I'm going to die. What can I do? Enjoy every day.
No, I just stay up at night and stare at the ceiling. I have to exhaust myself completely so I pass out without knowing I'm actually going to sleep. It's healthy. In New Mexico, the trio meet ranch owner Clay Stone and their fellow cattle drivers, brothers Barry and Ira Shalowitz, young and attractive Bonnie, father and son dentists Ben and Steve Jessup, ranch hands Jeff and TR, Cookie the Cook, and trail boss Curly. During the drive, Mitch accidentally causes a stampede that destroys the camp. And while searching for the stray cows, Curly encourages Mitch to discover the one thing in his life that is most important to him. Mitch helps deliver a calf from a dying cow and names the calf Norman. Shortly after, Curly suffers a fatal heart attack. Then Cookie gets drunk and inadvertently destroys the food supply, breaking his leg in the process. Big D, I hesitate to call really anything in this movie cool, but I have to admit what you mentioned earlier, Billy Crystal in that iconic Mets hat, it's pretty badass. You see this scene where everybody's trying on their new cowboy outfits, right? And does this vest look good? Does this Western shirt look good? Does this bolo tie look good? And Billy Crystal's putting on different kind of hats. He's got a bowler. He's got a stovepipe. He's got a Stetson. And he realizes that the hat that works best for him is a Mets hat. And it reminded me of nearly every farmer or ranch hand I've met in real life. And that sounds funny, but I lived in Marysville, California, then Yuba City, California, then Chicago and New York City for a while, but then I moved to Lima, Ohio. I've spent a lot of time, especially working in newspapers, in rural areas, talking to rural people. And I grew up in Chandler, Arizona, which at the time was basically all dairy farms. I know a thing or two about ranches and farms. Dudes do not wear cowboy hats. They wear baseball caps. Other than King B's dad, Diamond Bob, he had an image to keep. They favor baseball caps or at most a straw hat, never a Stetson. But someday, I daydream about this. I just want to find that cowboy hat that works for me. Like a decent cowboy hat. And I have tried on Justin's. I have tried on Stetsons. I've tried on Akubras. No luck. And I started thinking, I was like, Big D, he's a tall drink of water. He's got that Scandinavian genetics, needs that protection from the sun.
Yeah, you think about the Cowboys with the Scandinavians.
Yeah.
No.
A lot of Dutch, at least.
Yeah.
Do you have a cowboy hat?
Fuck no, I got scarred because in the military, and this might be like more widespread than I know, they call them Walmart cowboys.
Yes.
So it's someone who attempts to be a cowboy, but it's inauthentic.
Yes.
So I have never owned a cowboy hat, never would, out of fear that maybe mine wasn't real and I would be looked at like a poser, So I've never done it. But if you look at the poster, Gene, without looking at it, in the poster, what is Billy Crystal wearing?
It's got a cowboy hat with a Mets logo on it.
Exactly. He doesn't wear that in the film. He wears the baseball cap throughout, but you don't remember that.
He also looks like Satan, though.
He does. He does look a little possessed by
it looks like he's in the fires of hell or something. Yeah.
I remember this movie being, like I said, a fish out of water. That it was going to be these city guys coming out into the old West and struggling. But one of the parts of the film that works well, and maybe because I'm 50 now, that I didn't expect is the stretch towards the middle where Mitch and Curly, after Mitch induces a stampede with his little electric like coffee grinder, Curly isolates him and they go off there and they're going to try to like get up the stragglers from the stampede. And something surprising happens, Gene. It becomes less whiny Mitch, ooh, I'm getting older, and talking about all of their relationship problems. And the movie slows down. You've just got two guys out in the beautiful West, in the scenery, the cattle, and they start talking about life. And they start talking about regret and choices and how Curly says, that's the problem with people, city slickers. And Gene, we're city slickers.
Yeah.
We're people who live in like more urban areas. And he said that people overcomplicate their life, that modern life, it's not authentic. It's not meaningful. And Curly's line about city folk, it hit me hard and it had surprising weight. He tells the story about the girl, about Mitch asks, have you ever been in love? And he says, yes, this once I saw, this girl down in the dirt. She stood up and she was in a sundress and the sun behind her. And he said, well, what happened? Did you go talk to her? And he says, no, I went on. And to Mitch, that is a lost opportunity. Why didn't you go and get her? And he says, it couldn't get better than that moment. And it hit me. It was such a meaningful like statement on life and how we make choices. And I was like, holy shit, this is an emotionally honest film buried beneath a comedy of like people falling off of their horses and cows giving birth. We needed more of this and less silly stampede banjos, harmonicas, and fucking yodeling. That was the worst part of this film, but the emotional connectivity of adults talking about life, I thought it was beautiful.
It's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of wisdom. And that's something I just did not remember about this movie. And again, I was a child, right? I was an 11-year-old. Maybe I didn't recognize that at the time. But it's very, very good at these touching moments, at these big questions. It's incredibly philosophical for a film of its genre. Unfortunately, it's billed as a comedy, and it's really not very good at that. The gags, they feel played out, even by 1980 standards. It's a little overwritten. And I don't remember Billy Crystal being this way, so I don't really blame him. But he seems to get stuck with these really awkward lines, like the joke about the Sucrets, or when his wife is, referencing Ingmar Bergman films. Like, oh yeah, of course. Ingmar. Can you name a single Ingmar Bergman film?
No, I love Swedes, but I could not. No.
Yeah, we're a fucking movie podcast, and we don't even know, right? And then he references The Fly to talk about like hair on his back. I didn't need this movie to try so hard to be funny. In fact, I think it would have been a much stronger film if they played it as like a Stand By Me. 3 friends going on this cattle drive and just exploring those feelings and the things they found around the way. A few moments of levity are fine, but we're not trying to make it this big build, goofy comedy.
So we're going to get to the moment where Mitch is going to step outside of his comfort zone and we get to meet Norman, the beautiful little calf. We get to see Norman's birth. And I have to ask you, Gene, when you first saw this scene of the calf being born, first, did you think it was real? It's just Mitch, it's just Curly, and Mitch has both of his arms inside of a cow. and he's pulling the calf out, and it's covered in afterbirth and placenta. It looks 100% legit. This looks like Malcolm in Jurassic Park when he finds the Triceratops and he says, this is a big pile of shit. This looks absolutely legit to me. I researched it, so I'm not going to be like, ooh, I gotcha. This was actual footage of a calf birth cut in with Billy Crystal working on a fake cow vagina prop. It's gross, but it's impressive. Because I first watched this and I said, holy shit, did Billy Crystal just reach double arm into a fake cow vagina, or was that real? It was fake, but that shit looked real, Gene.
Yeah, I thought it was fake only because of like the ketchup red color of the, I guess, labia on the cow. But I also didn't understand the need to show it. It was effective enough. You had the gloopy, wet sounds. You got the calf, which is beautiful, like you said. You got Billy Crystal like flinging around, the afterbirth, the amniotic fluid, or whatever. I guess I'm going to find out pretty soon. It was a bit excessive to actually have to show the cow vagina. I'm glad we got to see Norman. He also cleaned up really nicely. I did not expect him to be that cute after he was born.
No, they show it a couple times, and they focus back on it, and then it ends, Gene, where he shoots the mother.
Life is cruel.
It goes from fun to prosthetic vagina to emotional distress to it's a lot of emotions.
Did you notice there wasn't a single horse dick in this movie?
I actually hadn't, Gene. I was focused on cow vagina.
The King Bee, he feels the need to send me videos of all the horse dicks he sees in the lower Salt River. And if I don't respond to them, when he sees me in person, he'll then pull out his phone and be like, hey, look at this horse dick. So in City Slickers, they mention castration, and immediately my brain goes to, are we going to see any horse dicks? Because there's a lot of horses in this movie. And there were none to be found. Maybe all of these horses are mares, and that's why we're not seeing any horse dicks. But turns out that a lot of them were just geldings. Billy Crystal, definitely on a gelding. That one I could tell. I never got a good look at any horse dongs because it's PG-13. They can't show them. So vagina, okay. Horse dong, not okay.
Gene, you're not going to believe this. First of all, we talked about recently about your you said doom scrolling and what comes up in your feeds. I recently had a video show up in my feed. Don't know what this says about me. Have you ever heard of horse beans?
No.
So it is a veterinarian, and she's pulling back the foreskin on a horse. And there's like some fibrous growth on the shaft. But in the foreskin of the horses, they're called horse beans.
Oh.
It is a calcified, it looks like a bean.
Yeah.
That gets stuck up around the foreskin and the head. And the veterinarian peels it back and removes the beans. And they're called horse beans. I don't know why that came up. But you also made me think of something, Gene. We did, talking about penises and animals, we recently did Instinct. And during Instinct, for some reason, I had searched for penis to body size ratio. I do not know why I searched this, because people always talk about like horse cock and about like just how giant horse penis is. Do you know that's actually misleading? That the horse penis length is an average of 20 inches, but the body length is 8.2 feet. That's a ratio of less than 2%. That ranks modestly. Like a large penis, that is not. Their body is extra large. Animals that have larger penis to body ratio is like a brown bat, gigantic, 30% ratio. A hyena has a giant penis ratio. Humans, surprisingly, fall into the 4 spot with a 7 to 9 ratio. The average erect penis is 5.2 to 6.2, and the average body height is 5.9 inches. So there's a lot of animals. Horses don't fall like that high on it. It's even higher than a gorilla. Gorilla's in the 7 spot. It's like a 1.5 to 3.
Do the horse beans happen like if they're not getting any?
No, I think
if they're banging regularly, do the beans like fall off?
No, it's like, have you ever seen like the tonsil? What do they call those? Tonsil stones that people get in the back of their throat
from sucking horse dick?
No, that's no. It's the body's way of handling like little particles.
Okay.
So no, it's fairly normal. I think that the beans.
But you would think that if they're fucking, it would the beans would slough off.
That's a good point. I need to. If I Google horse cock beans, my Instagram feed will be a disaster. I don't know that I can.
Do you know how dogs' anal glands work?
I've seen where you have to excrete it or express them.
Yeah.
Is that real?
I have to do it regularly.
Shut the fuck up. You don't do that professionally. You do that?
I do it. Yeah.
But what happens in nature if you weren't there, Gene?
So if the dog takes a proper big shit, the shit puts pressure on the anal gland and then it coats the shit in the anal gland juice. And then if they poop it out, that's why poops smell the way they do. But some dogs, they're not healthy in that way, or they have an issue there. And so then it's not clearing it out.
Are there other mammals that do we need to have ours expressed?
I don't know where my anal glands are or if I have them. Dogs are very exposed though, because like if you frighten a dog, they can just spray out of their anal glands like a skunk. One of our dogs, Maddie, got spooked and she's like just right on the wall. Pretty wild. And that's Shat on animals.
Shat on penis.
After the Jessups leave to take Cookie for medical help, Jeff and TR get drunk and threaten to kill Norman. Phil and Ed stop them from beating up Mitch. And when Jeff and TR abandon the group, Bonnie and the Shalowitzes continue on to the Colorado ranch, while Ed and Phil remain behind to finish the drive. Mitch leaves, but soon returns to rejoin his friends. Norman nearly drowns, but the trio and the herd safely reach the Colorado ranch. Clay reveals that he is selling the herd to a meatpacking company, leading Mitch, Phil, and Ed to believe they saved the cattle for nothing.
So, Gene, I need your help with something. We get to a point here where the film is transitioning through a lot of different phases. We go from back in New York and they're not happy with their lives, so they go out west. They start to transition into new cowboys. We get a lot of like yeehaw cowboy moments. We get some wrestling and some rope throwing and some stampeding and horses going off of cliffs, and then it turns very dark very quick, and there's a weird transition. So the two ranch hands who were earlier on had sexually harassed one of the guests. They were drunk. Again, they have now, the stagecoach and the cook goes off the cliff. Woo! They say, look, we found his bottle of booze. It's daylight, Gene. It's early in the morning. They throw the bottle in the air and shoot it. It smash cuts to the middle of the night. All of the guests are hiding in one tent. The cook is now off. The two other guests have taken him out. And there's now multiple liquor bottles. These two hands are shooting the liquor bottles. They then pull out our beloved young little calf, Norman. We love this calf. Billy Crystal loved this calf. Billy Crystal actually takes this calf home after the filming is done. He adopts it. These two stagehands take their revolvers and shove it down the calf's mouth. They're going to blow this calf's brains out. And I'm questioning, did I miss something? I rewind it. I need to see the transition. How did we get from yeehaw, stagecoach driving off a cliff, daylight shooting, and spiral into some madness, calf shooting, it turns into a straight up fight, Gene, where the guests are holding each other with guns at their head. Was this some kind of like rewrite? Was this a lot of that instead of, therefore it turned into and then in the plot? What happened here?
Normally I'd agree with you, but there was clearly foreshadowing. Curly was the only thing keeping Jeff and TR from sexually assaulting Bonnie earlier in the movie. So we've established they're bad guys. They're meanies.
They're meanies.
It's not that they found Cookie's one bottle. They said they found out where he was hiding his stash. So they get a little whiskey in them. That sadism comes right back. There's nobody to keep the guests safe. These guys are armed. They know that the guests are wimps. They've been spending several days with them. And they know that the guests need them to reach Colorado. So it's not like they're going to kill them or anything or try to fight back. They're going to probably let them do what they want to do. But one person who isn't a wimp, Billy Crystal, Mitchie the Kid. I was shocked to find that Billy Crystal, this little guy, and in this movie, he looks tiny and old. He really got into this role. He did strength training. He did cardio. He did roping. He did horse drills to get ready to be in City Slickers. And this movie has a lot of equestrian stunts, right? There's actually quite a bit of action going on. And so I tried to play Dick Ebert. I was like, I'm going to pause all these scenes. And I'm like, that for sure is a stunt man. Paused it. Nope. Billy Crystal. Another scene. I'm like, oh, that's for sure a stunt man. Paused it. Daniel Stern. A lot of this riding and roping was the actual actors. Now, Daniel Stern, he said he intentionally didn't train so that he could be awkward on horseback and keep it authentic. Highly doubt that. But if you watch a lot of these scenes where they're on horseback, riding pretty rapidly, swinging those lassos around, that's the real guys.
I'm glad that my influence has caused that change in you. I also, Gene, obviously paused. I spotted the stunt double once. Other than that, Billy was very, very skilled. You could tell he had put the work in, and he was proud of it. He was peacocking as he strutted around on that beautiful gelding. You could tell he had put in the work, and it made his character's growth more believable.
Well, the men return to New York City. Mitch, a happier man, reunites with Barbara and their 2 children. He has also brought Norman home as a pet. Phil, having learned earlier that his employee is not pregnant, begins a relationship with Bonnie, and Ed intends to start a family with his wife. Mitch is ready to restart his life with a new stance.
So, Gene, the 3 guys, our 3 friends, have overcome the challenge. They've stepped up. They've gotten the herd. Like Curly said, there's nothing better than bringing in the herd. So it's come full circle. They deliver them to the
ranch.
Yeah. They're bruised. They've bonded. They've had life lessons. And Mitch then learns that the herd is destined to be slaughtered because I guess the price of beef is high at this point. I'm cringing. I'm like, please. Do not give us a moment where these men have a moral crusade to pool their money together to save this cattle ranch and put these cows out to pasture. I'm like, thankfully we did not get that. They accept the reality. They go home and basically say, hey, you know what? Fuck these cattle. Who cares? We learned our lesson. All except for one final gesture. Norman, our beloved little calf. He decides to take him home like a rescue dog. It's sweet. But is this enough, Gene? You've had emotional connection. You guys are rich city slickers selling your commercial ads and sporting goods. And shouldn't they have done something for the whole herd? Or is this just a metaphor for doing the minimum to get over your midlife crisis? Shouldn't they have done more, Gene?
I have certain rules when it comes to eating meat, and those rules have changed over time. I wouldn't say I'm hardcore about it. I won't eat anything that's alive. I feel like that's just cruel. That's not nice. For a while there, I wouldn't eat pork just because pigs are so much like dogs. And I definitely will not eat veal or any sort of a baby anything. I think that's the thing with Norman, right? Is he hasn't lived his life yet. He's just a baby. And I like that Clay, the ranch owner, he said they're not endangered species. This is what they're born and bred to do. This is their purpose in life, right? It's a circle of life sort of thing. That is what they do. But I'll admit I was emotionally impacted, and I kind of felt like Ed and Phil and Mitch. In honor of Ken's commission, I got some sirloin steaks and I fired up the Weber Classic.
You motherfucker.
And I reverse seared some sirloins, made a little garden salad, and I put on City Slickers. I took a photo and I posted it on Instagram. And I savored every bite of my medium rare steak. My belly's full. I'm having a good time. And then boom, there's Norman. And I'm watching Norman and he's in the river. And I'm so worried for Norman. And they got a gun to Norman's head. And I'm so worried for Norman. And I wanted to throw up. I could feel guilt in my belly. You ate Norman.
Yeah.
I was taken back to 13-year-old vegetarian Gene. Look at those eyes. Look at the way that he nuzzles. He's licking. That's love. How could you eat him? He's your friend.
Gene, Marshmallow, my beloved white rabbit.
Yeah.
That showed up on my lawn, and I built him a beautiful home. And he lives with us. He is the greatest pet. I feel guilty every time I hold him, knowing that I've killed his fellow rabbits in sapper school. that I hunted them down, killed them with my bare hands, skinned them, and ate them.
Yeah.
And I look at him and I'm like, Marsh, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry that I did that, but I had to do it. But these characters in the real world, Gene, Mitch, it has to cross his mind when he goes out to dinner with the family and he orders a burger. Is this one of the cows that I delivered safely? Or does he just not give a shit because he's a bit self-absorbed?
I think I'd feel significantly less guilty, and Mitch probably would too, if it's an adult cow. This cow has been alive for a while. It's done 2 or 3 of these trips from New Mexico to Colorado. I think they only do like one. Who the fuck is buying this meat? They're like, hey, this guy has been back and forth with tourists driving it from New Mexico to Colorado. People at home, if you don't know this, that is not how your beef was treated. Okay. It was not taken by cowboys, over the mountains and through a river to a ranch. Okay. That's not the life it lived. That would be some very expensive beef, I think. And probably not taste very good.
No, I think this would be like low grade beef.
Yeah.
This would be like something like you'd have in like Sizzler, or like Ponderosa.
Dog food.
Yeah, this would be gross. Yeah. That's not going to be a tender meat. These cattle have had a difficult life.
But Big D, this big question comes up in City Slickers about the best day of each of their lives, each of the friends' lives. And I love to rank stuff in my head. Greatest movie of all time, my favorite movie, greatest band of all time, my favorite song. But City Slickers posed a question that I just could not answer. Simple question, right? What is the best day of your life? And my first thought was, it was pretty recent, like the day that I heard my daughter's heartbeat. It was like the whole world disappeared. We're in that dark room, and you know what it's like, right? You're in that dark room, they're doing the ultrasound, and you're seeing the baby, and that's one thing. But then you're in that dark room and they turn on the sound, no warning, and you just hear this heartbeat. And it felt like the whole world disappeared. It was just me and Sarah and what I could describe as like the feeling of life in the room. Then I started thinking a little back further than that, right? To like 2007. And all those days in Chicago that would start with a walk in the neighborhood. I'm 27 years old. Nothing wrong with me. I'm skinny. I'm looking good. I go pre-gaming at my best friend Victoria's house. And then we go get bar drinks at the bar right next to the train station. We get on the L. Maybe you go to Smith's night at Danny's. And we're in this packed little sweaty place with no AC, dancing with all these beautiful people to the Smiths. And then after that, you want to keep partying. You go to Late Bar or Evil Olive. And you basically party until sunup. And then you go back to your friend's house and there's more dancing and laughing and snacking, maybe some drugs, and then you all pass out. Those were amazing days. And it's hard to say what era of my life had the best day. I have to think about that a while. It's only been a day since I watched this movie. My worst day is easy. Bar none is the day my dog Bruce died. I will never get over that. It's the most pain I've ever experienced because I've lived a pretty soft life. Do you know your best day?
Yeah. Well, again, I don't want to be tainted by recency bias.
Yeah.
But there was a day recently that I was in the moment and I could tell this was going to be a moment I would remember for the rest of my life. And I think it's easily top 5. So Emma and I decided to take a trip. Vanessa was with her sister somewhere. So I finally decided to take her to Manhattan to see New York. So it was just Emma and I for a weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend, Fleet Week. And it was the last day of our trip. And her and I had done the Statue of Liberty. We went to it's like kids love slime.
They do.
You'll learn about this, Gene. They love this slime. So
I've witnessed this, yes.
It's called Slow-Mo in Manhattan, and it's like a slime activity center.
Are you sure it's not Shlomo?
No, I think it's called, I think the character is Slow-Mo, whatever. But so it was just her and I. My phone had died, and her and I just walking up Broadway, and we come to Joe's Pizza, and it's got like a 35, 40-minute wait. And she says, we're going to get pizza, and we're going to walk to Bryant Park. And it is now probably about 7, 8 o'clock. Sun is going down in Manhattan. Beautiful day, 70 degrees. We waited in line, got pizza, walked over to Bryant Park. And Bryant Park, if you haven't been there, it is you can see the Empire State Building. It's the backside of the New York Library, Ghostbusters. And there is a little park. They do Fashion Week there, and they have tables and chairs. And her and I laid out in the grass, and she was just a 9-year-old girl. She was just talking about life, and she started doing cartwheels, and we were listening to Taylor Swift. And I did a video of her just trying to goof off and doing like somersaults and falling down, and her and I laughing. And it clicked in my mind. I would do anything to go back to this day. And I know when she gets married, when she has kids, when I'm old and on my deathbed, that will be the day that I could wish to go back, laying there with her and just hearing the amazing things that she's thinking as her life gets started, and her full of joy and life and love, and her and I experiencing this. And it's so weird. You think other moments would be bigger, but this one was such a connective moment between me and her. For me, I think that is my best day.
Incredible to recognize it in the moment. Yeah. Which is probably why I like drinking, because then when you're drinking, you think all those moments are really great. But that's manufactured, right? The real ones where you're just sitting there and you're like, you recognize in the moment that this is as beautiful as life gets, you know? So we're lucky. We're very fortunate.
Agreed.
Well, now's the time in the podcast where we give our Shat score. Shat scores are we telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's wearing a woman's ass as a hat. And 5 wipes, it's an absolute disaster of a film. It is Target parachute jumping. Big D, how many wipes do you give City Slickers?
So if 2.5 is average, I think this is better than average. I think it's a 1.75 wipes. I do have a few key issues that held the movie back. I think it's got its strong emotional moments we talked about with Curly and Mitch. There's insights into men's midlife crisis and marriages and love and families as we grow older. But those scenes and those connections kept getting interrupted by fucking goofy cattle drives and fucking cartoonish musicals. The runtime, it didn't need to be 2 hours long. There was a lot of fat in the beginning, in the middle, and then the end felt rushed. Man, it could have been there. If you whittled this down, there's such a better film in it. Jack Palance, I love the man. Mm-hmm. But how do you get an Oscar for this film? He's in it very, very little. And yes, okay, he went against Tommy Lee Jones for JFK, Harvey Keitel for Bugsy, Ben Kingsley for Bugsy, and Martin Lerner for Barton Fink. So he got lucky, dude. He backed into a weak year with a small performance. Tango and Cash, I think that was a much better performance by Jack Palance. But, disjointed narrative, hurt it, whatever. 1.75 wipes, better than average. And if you're looking for an adult, middle-aged transition film, this is perfect for you.
And to put it in context, this is winning Best Supporting Actor for a comedy is not that common. And normally you would see it something like, the only one that comes to mind is Alan Arkin when he went for Little Miss Sunshine, which was like, that was amazing. I mean, he put in work. Not that Jack Palance didn't, but like you said, Big D, he's only in maybe half the movie, and most of it he's just riding around and kind of huffing out lines. Again, no offense to Jack Palance, but surprising.
Gene, do you know who was originally cast in the role?
John Wayne.
Charles Bronson.
Oh my God, that would have been fucking amazing.
Bronson could have gotten his Oscar. He would have been great.
Big D, I agree with you. This movie has its moments, but it is not a good comedy. The jokes are overwritten. The characters just sort of fit stereotypes. I couldn't help but think that a lot of the secondary characters, like the brothers, I mean the actual brothers, the ice cream brothers, not the black men, they just sort of were pigeonholed into doing the specific thing that they're supposed to do. Then they shoehorned in that weird romantic note between Phil and Bonnie at the end. It felt totally unearned. They had zero chemistry throughout the film, right? There was chemistry between Bonnie and Mitch. Obviously, Ed was sort of ogling Bonnie, but Phil, it just sort of popped up out of nowhere. It seemed too convenient. And I was proud of the guys for bringing in the herd, but I feel like this movie is still out there somewhere between New Mexico and Colorado, just lost in the mountains. So I'm going 3 wipes. And with 3 wipes for me and 1 3/4 wipes in Big D, that gives us an average wipe score of 2.375 wipes.
So, Gene, with a final wipe score of 2.375 wipes, that now ties this in the 249 spot with Rad, Notting Hill, Robot Jocks, and Kingpin.
Kingpin's a much better movie than this. I mean, as a comedy, it's much funnier.
But it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, this was from, I would say, an era or a genre where they try to do everything at once. This is The Sandlot. This is Mermaids, right? Just kind of a movie that tries to do it all, and it succeeds in some areas and fails in others.
Agreed.
Ken, Eileen, I hope you think that score is fair. We'd love to hear back from you. And those of you out there listening, if you'd like to tell us about your best day ever or worst day ever, you can write us host at shatpod.com or go to shatpod.com and use the SpeakPipe feature. Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, next week, it's 1968. And Michael, Nick, and Steve, lifelong friends from a working-class Pennsylvania steel town, prepare to ship out overseas following Stephen's elaborate wedding and one final group hunting trip. In Vietnam, their dreams of military honor are quickly shattered by the inhumanities of war. Even those who survive are haunted by the experience, as in Nick's hometown sweetheart, Linda, commissioned by Kevin W. This came out in 1979. This will be a far darker film, I believe, Gene, than City Slickers.
100%. And just a confession to everybody out there, this is a movie that I have always acted like I've seen. I have not seen it. But when all the goths were talking about it in high school, like, oh, man, yeah. Vietnam, yeah. De Niro, yeah.
Yeah.
Poser.
This is a fucked up one. There's a couple fucked up scenes in this, and it's
just like City Slickers. It's just 3 friends on an adventure.
A little different. Instead of coming home with a cattle named Norm, you come home with some other souvenirs from Vietnam.
Thank you, Kevin, for the upcoming commission. Thank you, Ken and Eileen, for commissioning City Slickers. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat The Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat The Movies. Email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all our information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever fine podcasts be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Be sure to join us next time for the following movie.
One shot is what it's all about. Deer has to be taken with one shot.
Blessed is the kingdom of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
You gotta listen to me. You wanna stay down here and die? I just want to say how sorry I am about Nick, and how I know how much you loved him, and I know that it'll never be the same. How do I know you know where he is? Don't do it. What's the matter with you? Don't you recognize me?